Hello everyone, my name is Priya and I welcome you all back to my channel. In the last video, we discussed about Article 33, that is Armed Forces and Fundamental Rights. Today's video is going to be about the next article, that is Article 34. Article 34 talks about restriction on rights conferred by this part. This part means Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, while martial law is in force in any area. Let's read out the actual text of Article 34 given in the Indian Constitution. It says that, notwithstanding anything in the foregoing provisions of this part, Parliament may by law indemnify any person in the service of the Union or of a state or any person in respect of any act done by him in connection with the maintenance or restoration or order in any area within the territory of India where martial law was in force, or validate any sentence passed, punishment inflicted, forfeiture ordered, or other act done under martial law in such area. These are the words of the Constitution about Article 34. Honestly, the words used in this article are a bit difficult to understand, as I felt. If we try to understand this in simple words, it says that by law, Parliament has power to impose martial law in any area within the territory of India in an adverse condition. And during martial law, fundamental rights of people living in that area can be suspended. Along with the fundamental rights of people, it suspends the government, civil and ordinary laws of the court, and other agencies responsible for the civilian law enforcement. So basically, everything is controlled by the military. Apart from this, one more thing has been mentioned here. You can see this word indemnify. This word has come from act of indemnity, which means to compensate or to protect someone against legal liability for their actions. Let's read out what has been written here. It says, Parliament may by law indemnify any person in the service of the Union or of a state or any person in respect of any act done by him in connection with the maintenance or restoration or order in any area within the territory of India. This means a person of central or state government or any other person if takes any action or does any work which is legally incorrect to maintain law and order in the area where martial law is imposed, then the Parliament can compensate or protect that person against legal liability for his action. Now, why this has been said? This is because if martial law is imposed in any area, then it doesn't mean that the police and other authorities like DM, DC, SDM will go back to their homes. No, they will also be on their duties at that time. But all their actions will be decided by the military. Where will they be posted? What actions has to be taken? Everything will be operated by the military. That's why in that context it has been said that if any person takes any action to maintain law and order during martial law, then their actions will be compensated by the Parliament and no legal actions will be taken against them. The provisions of the martial law has been taken from English common law. If you see, the word martial law has not been defined anywhere in the Constitution. Means it has not been explained in detail, like under what circumstances it can be applied, to what extent it will be applied. In Article 34, it has only been stated that Parliament has power to impose martial law, and in whichever area it will be imposed, fundamental rights of people living there can be suspended. So the word martial law has not been clearly defined, but its literal meaning is military rule. So when martial law is imposed in any area, then the military is given all the power to maintain law and order of that area. And for that, military can go to any extent. Now the first thing we need to know that under what circumstances martial law can be imposed by the Parliament. The first situation can be if a very violent protest breaks out in any part of the country, or any communal riot starts. or any revolt starts against the government, people start killing each other. And the administration, authority, or police of that area is unable to control the situation. In such circumstances, martial law can be imposed. Second situation could be if any other country attack our country and the country comes into the state of war. In that condition, martial law can be imposed. Third situation could be if our country wants to occupy any other country or area outside the territory of India. In that situation, martial law can be imposed in the occupied area. Fourth situation could be if a terrible natural disaster suddenly occurs in any part of the country. In that situation, martial law can be imposed in that particular area. So these are some situations in which martial law can be imposed in the country. Apart from these, there can be other reasons too, which totally depends on the situation, because no one knows when and what sudden situation will arise in the country. But martial law is applied only for a limited period of time. As soon as the situation comes under control, the people living in that area gets back their fundamental rights. Now, whenever martial law is imposed in any part of the country, or if ever needed to impose, then the military is given all the power to maintain law and order of that area. They make their own rule and law to control the situation. For that, they first impose curfew in the entire area. The fundamental rights of the people living in that area are suspended. No one is allowed to step out of their houses. And even if someone tries to step out by breaking the rules, then the military has all the rights to question that person. If they have even a little doubt, they can put that person in the jail. And if they suspect a person that the person is trying to make the situation worse, then they can even shoot that person. They are given full power that they can do whatever they want to do to control the situation and to maintain law and order of that area. And during such situation, if any person feels that his fundamental right is being violated too much and he should approach the Supreme Court, so he can't do anything like this. Because it is clearly said that during martial law, fundamental rights will be suspended and the Supreme Court can't do anything about it. Still, if such situation comes that any person has to complain against any military person, then for that a separate court is made where only military related cases are registered. Because normally you must have seen that if there is a case against any army, navy or military officer, then their trial is held in a separate court. You might have heard about that word court-martial. So in those courts, military officers are there to take decisions because their rules, regulations and acts are different from normal people. Now among all these situations, one question often arises that what will happen to Article 20 and 21 during martial law? When we started studying about fundamental rights, then we saw that fundamental rights can be suspended during national emergency except Article 20 and 21. Now this has been mentioned with respect to national emergency, but nothing has been said about Article 20 and 21 with respect to martial law. So that's why we consider that during martial law, along with the fundamental rights, both Article 20 and 21 will also be suspended. However, Supreme Court has held that writ of habeas corpus will not be suspended during martial law. Now why we are considering and assuming that Article 20 and 21 will be suspended during martial law? That's because martial law has never been declared in India. So we can't actually predict that what can happen during martial law. Whereas national emergency has been declared thrice in our country, so we know what could happen. Yes, both are different. Implementation of national emergency is different from that of martial law. Now let's see some of the differences between these two. The first difference is provisions of national emergency is taken from German constitution, whereas provisions of martial law is taken from English common law. The second difference is national emergency affects fundamental rights of the people as well as center-state relationship. That is, power becomes centralized, whereas martial law affects only fundamental rights of the people. The third difference is during national emergency, government and ordinary law courts continue their work, whereas during martial law, government and ordinary law courts are suspended. The fourth difference is national emergency can either be imposed in the whole country or any part of the country, whereas martial law can be imposed in some specific part of the country. The next difference is national emergency can be imposed on three grounds, that is, war, external aggression, or armed rebellion, whereas grounds of imposing martial law is not clearly mentioned anywhere in the constitution, but it is basically imposed to maintain law and order of any specific area where the situation is out of control. And the last difference is the provisions of national emergency is specific and detailed under Article 352 of the Indian Constitution, whereas the provisions of martial law is not specific. That is, it has not been mentioned clearly about its grounds of implementation. So these were the differences between national emergency and martial law. Now one more last thing to know, that in how many countries martial law has been imposed at some point or the other. So these are the names of all those countries. As you can see that India's name is not there, and that's because martial law has never been imposed in our country. If you want to see the most recent example of martial law, it's Ukraine. As you all know that Russia has launched a full-scale invasion on Ukraine, and that's why Ukraine's president has declared martial law in the whole country. At the present time, the situation in Ukraine is being completely controlled by their military. So that's all for today's video. I hope you all have liked this video. In the next video, we will discuss the next article, that is Article 35, which talks about Parliament's power to make laws. Till then, thank you so much for watching this video.